I think I'm going to be a bit controversial, so first I will be nice, and then I will going to be a bit bad. So first of all, thank you guys for all your work you're doing. I mean, it's fucking amazing. So, I mean, really, thanks a lot for what you're doing. And second is a bit controversial, so it's like, it's quite clear from just being here in the conference that people use Blender for lots of different stuff. So for example, in my case, I use it for architectural visualization. And there are some times that it's quite clear that some features that for some users will be like super important, for others are not. And I can give a couple examples. So is there any way that making the feedback from the users, and I know this is like really difficult, I have read it a couple times in Blender Artist. I know that you guys got completely overflown by proposals and stuff like that, but just to give a quick example, like for me it would be amazing to have wire color viewport. This is the controversial. Like even if I could ask like whatever, I will have to have like different colors by object, by material, by groups, because you know the guys that layers in Blender are not the best feature. So I usually try to work with groups, and at the end, in architectural visualization, I have like lots of stuff. The buildings are big, and I have like a big blob, green blob. And I know that for you, I mean, I know that the feedback that you guys get is usually mostly from the things that you're doing in the institute, which is normal because they are the people that you can trust and they're the people that they're doing. And probably for the films that you're doing, you don't care about that kind of stuff. So I don't know if there's any way, and this is a really big question, and it's a controversial, so I was nice at the beginning, that we could give feedback that maybe it's also like gonna help, I mean, it's gonna help users that use Blender for things like not films, for example, and it's gonna probably, I don't know, like help each other. Like probably some features you never thought of that, and probably like they can speed the workflow. I don't know. I know it's really big. Sorry, but
the question is mainly: do you think the wireframe colors are not acceptable as a feature, or what do you think then?
No, for me.
Why do you think it's not in Blender?
Because when I make a group, has that, for example, it has that color. I cannot, I mean, I know that we have colors by object and we have colors by material, but
I know I'm the person with the evil genius who's not always happy with the simple things. I mean, there's nothing against wireframe colors, but there is something against doing things really stupid, which you will regret in a few years. So when our people are working on it, the only thing I said was, well, it's very nice to add it, but I would like to have it first in theme control. So you can make a theme which fits with your way of using color in the interface, and then have smart wireframe colors. So for example, you can set up rules for wireframe colors, that groups have different colors, or modifiers, stuff, or constraints, or whatever. So you can use colors for debugging and useful information. If you would store the colors in the object itself, then it becomes very static. Then you give the file to somebody else, then you get a complete mess. Like you see the colors you might like, but I don't want that maybe. And then I have to spend hours of deleting or removing all the colors again. So if you make the colors a little bit more abstract, which is a few days of more coding time, everybody will be happy. But then I don't have to see your colors, and you can use the colors you like and load files from other people and have the colors too, your colors, not their colors. You understand?
more or less.
Okay.
Yeah,
but it's just a way of doing it really good and not doing it the easy way you might not want next year, right? That's all. But I don't know what happened with it.
I could comment on this, but I don't know if we should. So opinion is divided. There's tons of opinion, and well, everyone has their own opinion on this. We had a big long thread. It was really horrible. So basically, I mean, Ton's saying like you spend hours, but my implementation was just you click a button, it's like madcaps, and you enable wire colors. So you don't have to, it's like an opt-in thing. And this is like, maybe it's good, maybe not. There was a lot of disagreement there. And the other thing is that Ton's idea is sort of like a rule-based colours, and that's good, but then if you just say, I want the grass to be a weird green colour, you can't do that. You need a rule to define that. You just say, I want the colour to be what I want. That doesn't have a rule. You have to go and use some rule editor.
You can assign the color, but you get the color from a palette, and you don't pick a color from your RGB picker. That's the only thing. But your palette is in theme control.
Yeah.
So if you set up a number of colors which you think is useful, and then another user might have a different palette which fits with their themes, and then you can collaborate without seeing the ugly colors from the neighbor. That's all. So instead of making RGB custom for every object, you make a nice menu that pops up 16 colors and you pick one of them, or 32.
Yeah. I mean, how does that mix with group colors?
It's an index-based, that's all.
But how does it mix with existing colors? How do you not conflict with library linking?
By making this a rule. So the rule is then, I want a custom color.
Okay.
That's overriding the rules.
And so if you don't like them, do you have to spend hours like turning off all the custom colors on every object?
No.
Good.
Anyway, but this is a matter of...
We'll talk about it later.
It's a matter of design.
Okay.
It's a matter of design. And the same thing is for the layer system in Blender, which could have named layers, and there's many ways to code an interesting layer system in Blender. There is a good way, and there is a way which is going to be something you will regret. That's the only thing. I kicked the code is not to be lazy, right? You have to not be lazy. But that's how Blender started. I've never been lazy in making things. So.
Could I...
Like to give I mean, the layers is another completely thing. I understand Blender is not other software. I understand Blender is Blender. But when you change the way that other softwares are working, then you find problems. Like, for example, in my case, and I go again, like, obviously the way I'm using Blender is not the way that the Blender is using Blender. But I receive models from the architects. And those models, every software uses layers, every software. And the problem that I have is when I import the things, the SketchUp model to Blender, I lose the layers. All the software, pretty much, for example, is going to maintain that. It's going to maintain the name of the layers. So that's saving me one afternoon of changing things in Blender. And that's a big problem for me. Because if I have 2 days, I cannot spend one afternoon putting things in but that's another completely thing.
But the only thing I want to say is there's nothing against this, and I'm pro, and we I think all pro, having good features in Blender, but we have to expect also that it is sometimes work. You don't get it for free. It's not like that you have an idea and then it materializes and it lands into Blender. That's not how coding works, right? That's not how anything works. Also, your job doesn't work that way. It's work. So for a developer, it also means you have to think about it and think about the future and how to maintain it and really well. And then in a way that in 10 years of time, you might still like it. So you have to do some thinking work. That's all.